This week on Engage the Sage.
One of you asked, what is your favorite memory with your daughter? And I thought that was just kind of a sweet, wonderful question. And I can't remember ever getting one that I kind of saw as a, aww.
Hi, I'm Don Saucier. Welcome to this week's episode of Engage the Sage. This week we're going to talk about how to build rapport with your students by being vulnerable with them. One of the things that I do with my students on the first day of class is I give them the opportunity to ask me questions about anything. I think this is a great way to kind of set the norm that I want them to ask questions, that I want them to use their voices, and it's also a great way for us to get to know each other a little bit. Oftentimes these are questions about course policy, about my teaching philosophy, maybe my background, my opinions on some things. Recently I got a question unlike ones that I'd had before, and it asked me a question about my memory with my daughter. Now, I actually had the opportunity to look at these questions when they had written them in the first class and reflect on how I was going to treat these questions in my second class. When I reviewed this question about the student asking about memories that I've had with my daughter, I had to reflect. I had to decide, what was I going to do with this question? Did I want to disclose something personal to me, something emotional to me? Did I want to do something really safe? And what I decided was to share with them moments that I'd had with my daughter that were emotionally important to me so that I could show my students that I really cared about the questions that they asked me. And this was really interesting for me because this is one of the few times that I can ever remember, maybe even the only time that I can ever remember, where I was actually a little bit choked up in class. And what it provided was this sort of amazing moment where we got to connect at a level we don't normally connect at. We got to kind of share emotions in a relatively non-threatening way that they get to see me as human in a way that they wouldn't always get to do. In the clip that we're going to share with you, you're going to get to see how I answered this question. And you're going to see the follow-up questions that they had about memories, not only with my daughter, but with my son. And some of those memories are very, very happy. Some of those memories are very heartfelt. Some of those memories are even a little bit sad. But it was a moment that I wouldn't take back.
All those kind of things. And then this is probably the most interesting question that I've ever gotten in doing this is, one of you asked, what is your favorite memory with your daughter? And I thought that was just kind of a sweet, wonderful question. And I can't remember ever getting one that I kind of saw as a, aww. So I couldn't narrow it down to one. I told my wife this question. She's like, well, which one are you going to pick? I was like, I don't know. So I'm going to give you just a couple. So indulge that, please. When my daughter was an infant, she probably had colic at the time. We kind of didn't know that. When we had a second kid, it was like, oh my God, kids are easy. You know? My first daughter wouldn't go to sleep on her own. So when she was an infant, I literally walked her up and down the halls of my house. I wore out the carpet for 3 hours a night. Like from about 11 to about 2, walking up and down, up and down. I didn't have a Fitbit at the time. I wish I did. I would have hella steps. It was great. Right? And what would happen is I would just walk, and she would just look up at me with these really, really big eyes. Right? And you get to the point, you know, about 2.5 hours in, I think she's asleep. You put her down in the crib, and then she looks up at you with the eyes, and pick her back up and walk her. And that's one of kind of the coolest moments that I kind of remember about her. One of the others, and I'll share just one more, is when she was 6 years old, she actually won an award for a Martin Luther King Day speech. And she got to go and give it at the mall. So they have these kind of events. So she got to get up and read her little speech about how people should be treated equally, and she ended with follow your dreams. And I still have like a video of the speech somewhere. It's just this amazing moment where my little 6-year-old daughter was thinking beyond herself in her world. But my kids are both amazing. They're amazing in different ways. And thank you for asking that question, because I get to think happy thoughts and think of an answer for that. So are there any other questions that you kind of have before we actually start the content of this class? Because what we've done until now is kind of making sure that we're ready for this thing. We're building community. Hopefully you'll learn a little more about me. Any more questions you want to ask? And I'll answer anything you ask. I'll be as honest as I can. Yeah,
How old are your kids now?
My daughter is 10. My son is 8. And they are very different children. My daughter is very contemplative. She's a reader. She's a thinker. Any of you know what the Kansas State Book Network is? So the Kansas State Book Network, they pick that book that we give to all first-year incoming students and ask them to read it. My daughter made an actual nomination for next year's book. And I don't remember what the name of the book was, but she wrote me a half-page essay that I forwarded to the coordinator this morning. But she very much wants to change her world. She's in the Super Leaders program, which is a community service kind of thing in her school. And she's always kind of looking for ways to change the world. My son is a hellion. He is an absolute ball of motion, and he does everything with ultimate intensity. I don't know where he gets that, but it's really kind of interesting to see their personalities. And we tried to be the parents that gave both the trucks and the dolls and the pink and the blue and all of those kind of things. And they became very, very stereotypically feminine and very, very stereotypically masculine kids. And it's kind of interesting to see how that happens in a household where we try not to employ those norms. Actually, interesting, one of the saddest moments of my son's history, or my saddest moments of him, is when he disclosed to me that his favorite color is pink, but he won't wear pink or tell anyone. And that's because he didn't want to get in trouble for doing that. And I made it a point to wear pink shirts almost exclusively for the next several weeks after he told me that. But it's kind of sad to see how early it is that those gender norms get internalized. Oh, it's horrible, right? And it was like, we were trying to found him pink Star Wars shirts and pink Captain America shirts and all this. And he's like, I can't wear them. I was like, I'll wear it with you. And we got twinsy shirts, and he still wouldn't wear it. So yeah,
it breaks my heart.
It's so sad. I was like, pink's a cool color, dude.
Favorite happy memory with your son?
Yeah. My God, I have so much time with my kids. I'm a very involved dad. By the way, if any of you are familiar with Michelle Wolf's comedy, I think what I'm about to say is very, very true. I'm quoting her, is that the greatest dad is only an okay mom. Right? And that's sort of how those kind of things do. So I'm a very okay dad. I'm a very good dad, I think, and a very involved dad, but I do nowhere near what my wife does. But my son and I do so many things together. My favorite moment, every day, I help my son get dressed. I don't need to help him get dressed. But then we hug for 30 seconds. So he sits in my lap and we hug for 30 seconds every morning. And I'm aware that at some point, he's 8 now, at some point that hug's going to stop. And I think the hug's getting a little bit longer every morning as I'm aware of that. So, yeah, kids are amazing. Any other questions for now? All right.
Now, in the clip that we just showed you, with me kind of sharing this vulnerable side of myself with my students, this isn't something I do all the time. Even kind of thinking about it now, I'm a little emotionally worked up. In retrospect, I disclosed some things in that moment that I never anticipated disclosing. I shared some things with them that I probably wouldn't have thought about sharing publicly, about things that I've had experiences with my daughter and with my son. But what we created was a situation where we connected and we built rapport. And I think that's going to provide a wonderful foundation for them asking questions and trusting their answers from me to be authentic. And I think what made this moment really kind of special for me and for my students is it wasn't scripted. It wasn't something where I came in and said, hey, look, I'm going to have a moment with them. I did decide that I was going to disclose some personal memories about my kids with them. But I didn't decide that we were going to emotionally connect. That is something that was genuine, it was authentic, and it's something that if you have the opportunity, you may want to consider doing with your students. As instructors, we are not robots. We have feelings, we have personal and professional lives, and I think reminding them that we are people too is going to help us establish a line of rapport with them from which we can teach and they can learn. There's actually some emerging research that shows that when students really feel connected in their classes, it's because they can think of moments where their instructors were human and vulnerable with them. So don't contrive these, don't invent these, don't make these artificial. But if a moment occurs in which you can authentically and genuinely share a personal side of yourself that doesn't violate the boundaries that you've set for yourself in your class, then I think you can take that and build rapport with your students. Now, when these moments do occur, please make sure that you're comfortable with what you're going to share with your students. You don't want to put yourself into a situation you wish you could have back. One of my favorite parts about this moment that I just had with my students was that one of my students felt comfortable enough to ask me a question about my family, and I'm really glad that I had that opportunity to share some of those moments with them. This moment on the second day of my class has been a highlight of a semester so far, and I think I'm going to have a lot more with this class as a result. In the comments, if you're comfortable, please share with us times where you've been vulnerable with your students and how that helped you to build rapport with the students in your class. Thank you for watching this episode of Engage the Sage. Please like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, and share us on social media. We'll see you next time.